Let's move on to another issue that's not getting any better either. Gosh, there's a lot of bad news tonight. I'm sorry about that. We need things to turn around, don't we? Anti-vaxxers, they're on the road. They're headed on a national bus tour out to promote their anti-vaccination theories beginning in July. In just 1 week, 400 people from New South Wales have registered to share their own family horror stories, they say, about vaccinations on this People's Truth bus tour. Dr. Chris Zappala is the Vice-President of the Australian Medical Association. He joins me now from Brisbane. Chris, thank you very much for coming on this show. I think we all understand how important vaccinations are because but for a COVID vaccination, we're all stuck at home and life can't really restart. But how on earth people could be going out in this climate in particular trying to claim that vaccinations are anything other than a good thing? What can be done about it?
Look, it is very worrying because hopefully the enormous majority of people know that vaccination is safe and extraordinarily effective. And I think an important point to make around vaccination is that you're not just protecting yourself, you're protecting the community, because it's about building that herd immunity so that these infectious diseases, whatever they are, can't get a foothold. I think in terms of what we do about it, it would be nice to feel and know that we could constrain some of the behaviours, if possible, on social media, that we could challenge some of the anecdotal stories and beliefs, that we could present a clear and concise view of the evidence. And also from a regulatory point of view, the AMA is comfortable with sticks and carrots to be put in place to lead people towards vaccination, such as, no jab, no play, those sorts of things. So there's a range of measures that can be put in place and they should all be looked at.
I guess the concerning thing is you see a lot of footballers, you see a lot of social media influencers out there saying that vaccinations are problematic and they've all got, unverified and probably unscientific stories of harm. How do you counter that when a lot of the misinformation gets spread like wildfire?
It is very difficult, and I think we have to present always a reasoned and cogent argument. Nowhere else in medicine do we accept anecdotal evidence as appropriate for suggesting a treatment to individuals. And I think patients in their heart of hearts do know that. I think we need to impress upon people the collective benefit of vaccination and not just the personal benefit, and actually actively debunk some of the myths that are out there and present them with the facts. So, for example, one of the hoary chestnuts you always hear about is autism and the MMR, or the measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. And that has been debunked time and time again, and that is absolutely not a concern. And we need to strike that down every time we hear it and point to the evidence that shows that it's not a risk, as an example of what we can do to combat these erroneous views that are out there.
Yeah, I'm not going to promote where they're going per se, other than say their first stop somewhere on the Northern Rivers area of New South Wales. That's the same area where a lot of people will protest against 5G mobile phone towers, and they were scrapped. This is how crazy this stuff is. I also know from my time in politics, this area, this region also has lower average vaccination rates for children starting preschool and school. So are they being supported, do you think, by some local councils or political groupings, I'll say the Greens or other sort of parties like that? What's the basis for them, collectively being in particular pockets of Australia?
Well, I suspect that there is a little bit of groupthink that goes on, and you can find other people that support your view of the world and what you think is true. Then that becomes the norm in that area. And the only way that I think that we can combat that is make sure that the levels of medical education and general public education and the message that people are getting right when they're at school, for example, and through their general practitioners is the one that we want to put forward. I guess from my point of view, I accept that there will be a very, very, very small proportion of people who will never get over the line. But the ones that we want to convert are those that are not sure or who have been led astray by the misinformation.
Correct. The
and we need to
high-profile
give them
celebrities.
every opportunity. We need to give them every opportunity to get the right information, see their GP, have it front and centre, have that go out on social media, have the benefits of it. We've eradicated measles in many parts of the world. You don't see problematic meningitis in kids anymore, causing deafness and cognitive problems in later life, as to current life examples that in people's, our parents, for example, will have seen those illnesses earlier in their lives and they're no longer there. We can point to real life examples. And then, of course, there's coronavirus, which if we don't get an effective vaccine, there's going to be significant restrictions on our lives for a long way to come.
Yet in the developing world, they can't get enough of the vaccines, and in the developed world, in places like this, we're throwing it away. I don't understand it. Chris Zappala, thank you very much for your time.